Hello everyone, and welcome for this tutorial on Adobe Analytics API 2.0. And this tutorial, this video especially, will be focused on the Data Insertion API. So since this, I actually recorded the first element of this video, this first video of this series, sorry. You have actually a new capability to ingest information into the Adobe Analytics solution. And that is now the bulk data insertion API. So when I was presenting the Adobe Analytics um, 2.0 API, those capabilities were not available. Report suite API guide and bulk data insertion and data repair. I will not cover data repair API at the moment, as I was saying, because the limited scope that he has on the activity map element at the moment is not making me wanting to actually do a wrapper for it. But in the future, I will probably do that. Now, what I want to cover is the bulk data insertion API guide, and also the old data insertion API that is here, because a lot of people misunderstand that this data insertion API is actually not been to the 1.4 API. So it is hosted in the documentation of the Adobe Analytics 1.4 API, but it's not been in any case from this API. You don't need to log in using the token or anything to do this API. You will see that I have developed two ways through my module, which is Analytics 2. Actually, let's go there, because if you actually only look into this to GitHub, that's it. So if you go to my GitHub, which is PitchMuck, then you will see that I have the Analytics 2. And we have, I actually added some documentation for data ingestion. So you can go here, and here you can actually see how you could start to use that by doing an import of a module. We will see that together, and we will do that together. In order to display the data insertion 1.4, so the old one, that let's call it a data insertion API for now, and the other one, the bulk API. In order to display it, I went to create a real-time report, so you can see my website now. The good thing of my website is that it doesn't have a lot of traffic, so we will see directly if this is working or not, and then it will display. So this is one of the few reasons that you want to still go to report time to time, and one of them is to go to the real-time report section, so you can see how many elements, how many visitors are on your website on real time, like close to real time. So from this, let's get started and use this API. So remember, I have this tutorial folder that I want to open, and now here, remember all of these were coming from the different report that I have done. I open the PowerShell windows here, and in my PowerShell windows, I will do Jupyter Notebook. That will open me Chrome, and then I think I use this Adobe Analytics API demo notebook. So I will reopen that. So you see all the different things that we have done so far, and the first thing that we will need to do anyway is to import Analytics 2 as API 2. And we will need to do for the bulk ingestion API, we will need to actually identify through the token and generation of the token. So we'll need to import the file, the configuration that we have for our API. So I will do that. I need to create config file. And now let's get down to the breakdown that actually I was showcasing to you. And now create, I was clicking on M when it's blue like this to create a new section, and it will be data insertion. Up. And the first element of the data insertion will be to actually call this module, and we'll see from analytics to import ingestion. So using a tab, you can actually autofill. And now we have the different ingestion capability that I have built for this Python wrapper. So now I will do another section. So escape, and now M for Markdown, and then doing H2, telling that now this is the Data Insertion API. And let's go here and say this one will be the element for bulk API upload. Okay. So the data insertion API, you can run it by creating an instance of a class that exists in the ingestion module. What does that mean? It means that you have two possibilities from the ingestion using either the bulk or the data insertion. And here is going to use data insertion. Let's call it DIA for data insertion API, and say ingestion tab to see what are actually the capability. You see that I have capability to call some analytics function, the config and so on, and I will call DIAP for data insertion API. And you can have again here a shift tab to see if there is anything required. And you see, yes, there are some elements required, and those are the reports with ID and the tracking server. For the reports with ID, there is even an example for the tracking server. For the reports with ID, I already opened my report suite. So actually, let's go and take this AGS 62. So let's try to copy paste that. Let me Control I. And I want to have this report with ID. Okay, here it is. Up, I'm copying this. Again, what it was RSID equals up. And now I need to have the tracking server. And in order to retrieve the tracking server, you can go to my website, not to the admin, go to my website itself, look at the network, and hopefully my website will work. Yes. And get the request, and you can see my tracking server is this one. So I need to get that to my elements. So I don't remember what was it was tracking server. No, a tab, and this is my tracking server. So now from these elements, I have different methods that I can use, and you can see that I use the get method, the post method, and you have your RSID. So I can check my RSID is that, and my tracking server is that. So I can check that. So the data insertion API has two methods, one post, one get. Let's get through that a bit. And if you go here, you can see the supported, let's say the supported XML and query variables. So either you have a get method. The get method is to retrieve elements. So you can say to the server of Adobe Analytics, oh, I want to retrieve a specific element, and that actually will not retrieve anything, but through the parameters that you are adding, the query string parameters that you're adding in your URL when you ask, you pass information to the server, and that's how the get method works. This is the most common way that it works in Adobe Analytics or even in Google Analytics. They try to have a get method, so they fake a request to get a pixel, for example, and to get a resource, and then through the parameters they pass the information that they want. So you can see all the query parameters that are here. And what is the representation of this in JavaScript. You have also the capability to use the post method, and the post method is actually pushing elements to the server. You say, I want to push. And why do you want to use one versus the other? The get is actually the fastest because it's actually just connection to retrieve information, so you don't need to process the elements. So it's a default method. It's also because you are not passing elements to the server. It's, I would say, like less secure in a way that they don't need to check and anything in the server that everything is correct. It's just very straightforward. It's query parameters that you added your elements. So like this, you see on my screen. The post method is when you have a lot and a lot of information. The problem of the query parameter is that it could have a limit in the browser. So in our case, we will not use the browser system, we will use Python. But if you use the get parameters in the browser, there is a limit of 1,880 parameters, I think, in length of characters that you can get in the get parameter. The post method doesn't have this limit. You can post as much as the server can handle. Usually it's pretty big. I mean, bigger than the amount of elements they're going to write. So this is why you select one versus the other. Yeah, that's the only reason. At the end, you can choose whichever report or whichever method you want to do, and it will work the same way for Adobe Analytics at least. And now the problem that there could be is that there is this all of these elements you need to know. For example, for evar, this is v, and this is evar2 for the post. The fallback visitor ID and so on, like home page, EMS region, IP address, all of this you need to know, and having this open, you need to find this documentation. I mean, you can save it if you want, but this is not very practical. So what I did, and I'm actually pretty nice, I think it's pretty nice to have that, is that you have seen that there is a reference, and the reference is actually giving you all of those information that I show you directly in Python in a data frame format. So you can say, I want to have a head of this, and I just want to have the first information and what I want to use. You can also do a search for specific elements, as we have already discussed each other, and there is also a description that you have. It's not nicely formatted, the description, but I think it gives you already quite information directly in Python what to use and what to not use. Let's remove the head and let's look at the whole reference of this. And we will try to actually send a prop and an event. Let me check what I did in my, I said that some times ago. So there are page views, there is page and the path. Let's put a page and a path. And the page view is a normal page view. So in that case, what we need to do is dir and then either the get or the post reference. It actually doesn't matter. And then you need to say, what do you want to have? So here you see that there are some things that are required. So page name or G for the page web URL. And other element that you can send. So some event if you want to pass, and there is also possibility to add other elements. So in my case, I want to use the prop. So let's look at the prop. Prop. Somewhere page name. We see page name already. EMS event. Where it is. I'm the only one that's seeing it probably. Prop here. So you see that prop is here, and because we are going to use the get method here, we will use this column. So C is the prop, and let's prepare that a bit. So I'm going to say prop one. I think for me the page is, let me check. The path is C1, so actually it's in my naming convention. I already know that C1. Let's even do that like this. C1 or this will be confusing for you. So I will do prop1 equals homepage. Let's say we need a page name. So the page name is here, and you see that it's called like this. So let's, in that case, we'll keep it the same name. Page name is going to be homepage as well. The URL, page URL is G, so but let's call it page URL. And this is going to be my home page. So I think if I still have it open here, I can directly copy paste this one like this. And I think that the only thing we need at the moment. So you see that I have those different elements that I need to pass. And now I will pass, so G is going to be my page URL. I need to actually make sure this runs. So this is my page URL. The page name is going to be page name. So page name is going to be my page name. So this one is the argument I'm passing to the function. This one is the element I'm passing. Here it is. And for the prop, you see that I don't have anything here, but it is in supported quarks elements. So let's put it as a quark. And what is a quark? It's basically a new key value pair that you can pass. And here we could say my quark is C1 and the value will be prop1. So we'll pass that to the element, and hopefully through that video it actually will be displayed in my real-time elements, and I will see a page view for this. It may take a bit of time, so it could be quite stressful to see if it works, but that should work. One element I want to say is that you see that there is all other things, so PV1, PV2, or some event that we want to pass. Actually, we can also pass some events. Let's say events. It's probably going to be event 1 here, and this is going to pass directly the different event, and I think you can see it as well here. Events, it's events directly. So C1 that has been displayed here is actually one of the reference here. Page name that is being passed here, it's actually one of the reference here, and so on. One of the elements that what I was going to say is that the PE, PV1, PV2, those are optional, and it's for custom link tracking. So the type are D for download, E for external, or O for custom. Then if you set those, you will need to require to have PV1 and PV2 set. So this is PV1 for the href for custom link, and the PV2, PIV2 actually, is actually the name of the link you're tracking. If you set that, the page name is set to null. And this is not a page view, but this is a custom click. So be mindful of this. But then let's try now to generate a page view, because I didn't set a custom link tracking, and see if it actually reports on my real-time report. Actually, let's call it prop1 homepage Python to make sure that it's not faking something on my home page. And now I'm going to launch that. And you see that I receive a response 200. So it means that the server received that information. And the 200 give me, okay, it's fine. I'm the query is in the right format, and I'm actually processing that. So if I'm going to my real time, or you actually see that a lot of people are actually coming at that moment on my website. I'm happy about that. But like, let's look now. You see that I have a new homepage coming and homepage Python. So this is the way you could actually fake request, or you can imagine having a server running this module of Python into your server, and then automatically send information into your Adobe Analytics data. So I feel it's quite useful. But then what could be even better is the bulk API upload. For this method, as we can imagine, there is the same for post method. And you see that now I replace some of the elements. So page name is still page name, but page URL, which was here G, is no page URL. Why is that? Is because on your post method, it's expected to be page URL like this. So now I'm actually changing that automatically. So the good thing is that now there is a bulk API upload, and that's what I want to tackle now, is if I'm going here, sorry, here in the bulk data insertion upload, is that you will need to generate a CSV file, and you can then create for each row a specific event that you want to attach to a specific visitor, and send that information into Adobe Analytics. So as compared to the way we just did, we send one event at a time, you can actually process a whole bunch of events to Adobe Analytics. If for reason Y or Z that you cannot send those in real time, you can batch them later on. I did need to be a CSV file in a gzip compression format. And you have a size restriction of maximum 100 megabyte. Uncompressed file is a maximum of 1 gigabyte. That's important. There are some elements that you will need to take care of. So you can actually pass a query string directly, or you can pass as a column directly. So if you go a bit down, a lot down actually, here, you can see the different column and header that you can have in that elements, and there look at the query string param equivalent, and this will tell for each row. So you can imagine you have here the different column like this here, and here each row will be one of your event, and you will fill the different column accordingly to your event you want to have. Important things to know is at the beginning, I guess, when you send this information to the server, I'm looking at, yeah, you have the different hosts. So by default, I'm using in this API module, this analytics collection, Adobe I/O, and this is auto-routing your request to the correct processing server. It could be either in the US or the European. But because this is auto-routing, it could be like they try to send it to the US, and then when they actually don't succeed, they actually send it to the European one. That can be a problem for legal reason, that you cannot send data to the US. And because of that, you could say which of the collection server you want to use in the API at the beginning. So let's try to use that. And unfortunately, I won't be able to showcase this working directly in Workspace. I will need to reconnect later on because it takes a longer time, from my experience, to be able to see that in Workspace. It's not as real time than the Data Insertion API, but it's because it's for bulk operation, so it takes a longer time to process those. So from that, we need to, let's call it bulk, and remember we imported the ingestion module, and use the bulk API. As a reminder, when you see a capital letter, you can imagine it's a class, so I'm going to instantiate an object from that class. And again, Shift tab to see if there is anything being used. So you can see ingestion has an endpoint. So as I was explaining, I'm using the auto-routing collection. But if I want, I can actually use another one for a legal reason. This is the explanation that is being used. So if I will keep it like this, hopefully it works, and that is fine. So now from the bulk, you have different options. And the same way that you have the different elements before, like this, you can have the reference here, and now you have all of the header that and the query string parameters that you want to use or you would like to use. Then from this, we have several elements that we can have a look. So here the client ID, is it being set? Yes. It could be that it's not set if you didn't actually add the import config file being used. So you need to make sure that you have a client ID in order to connect. And you can also look at the endpoint that you are going to use. So you can also change that if you want afterwards. That's possible. No, you can look at you can generate a template, and this is, I think, is very interesting because the CSV needs to be in a specific format, and it can be cumbersome to recreate that format. So I have this method to generate automatically a CSV file that will be the template for your data ingestion. So you can see that there are several options. By default, this is the template is being generated in CSV, and you save it so that you can import it later on. But you can see that I include ADV. What is that? It's including advanced field. So, for example, for query string and custom link. So it's not included by default because you will need to remove them or consider them if you import them. But you can do that. You can return a data frame. That's also possible. So if you want to work directly within a data frame and don't want to work through a CSV file, that's also possible. Then you will need to import that data frame. And you can save, and this is automatically done, as I was saying. So I will not return advanced field. I will just generate the template. And hopefully now I'm going to go to here, and you see that the template has been generated. And if I'm opening this through Sublime Text, let's say, and have a look here, so you can see all of the different fields that I need to send. So timestamp values, marketing cloud ID values, events value, page name value, page URL, report suite value, user agent value. Important to note that marketing cloud ID values and timestamp values have defined format that you need to send. So you cannot fake anything. So otherwise, it will not be ingested they will result in an error in the processing for it. So in our case, let's take the one actually I do have. In my case, it's this one. And replace that here. So the timestamp value, I'll need to check my timestamp value. Do I have a timestamp? Actually, most probably I could use that. Otherwise, the other way you could do it is either, there is one here, I don't think there is, or you could generate a timestamp, let's say timestamp second. The timestamps are in seconds, Unix timestamp epoch converter, and you can say, okay, your current timestamp is this, and this is what I can use. Actually, let's do that. So the event value that you want to have, so I can say event 1. Again, this being said, you can have multiple events, and in that case, you want to have event 1 directly being in quote, and then set event 2. the page name value. So here we want to say home page, page URL. We were already having this as data analyst .info. The report suite ID value, and this is going to be my Python. And the report suite ID, if you remember, I have it here at the very top. At the very top, not really at the very top, but at kind of the top. Where is my field? It's here. So each of the field will represent one of your unique visitors, and you can upload the whole elements here. So I will save that like this, template. And now, in the bulk, I will send file. So one of the things you can do is set validation. So this is very interesting to get. This return the object from the request and will tell, okay, this file is okay to be sent or not. So the argument are the file, obviously, and the compress level that you want to have in the JZip compression elements. So JZip is going to compress your file. It's up to from 0 to 9. By default, it's 5. You can do more or less, depending on what you want. And actually, let's try to do that now by using the file. And the file will be a template, CSV, and see what is being returned. So you see that the response is 200. So my template is actually valid, and I can then send that. So this is good when you actually start using the bulk data ingestion API, so you can make sure that what you are sending is correctly formatted, and you will be ingested. You can try with removing one of the header that has been set automatically, and you will see that those are the minimum header that are required. If you don't set any of those, if one of those is missing, you will not actually see the information. Or you will see not 200, you will see an error. And now when I am done with that, I can see bulk send file, I think what it is, and send my template.csv. And this will send exactly. And now again, the same way that we had with the data insertion API, we have a 200 response. And this means that the file has been received and is going to be processed. As I was saying, this is not as real time as the data insertion API directly. The bulk API takes a bit more time, so I will not show it here. But this is, I think, quite useful for you if you have multiple events to send. I hope this video was useful for you. If you have any question, please comment below, and talk to you in the next series now that is going to be about Launch API. Bye.